So your hair is fine, and no matter what, it feels impossible to get it to do anything other than this. I hear you. I've spent the last 8 years testing just about every volume trick in the book, and along the way, I discovered a few that completely changed the way that I style my fine hair, and I bet you've never heard of some of them before. If I can go from this to this, then you can too. Today I'm going to walk you through the exact process that I use from the shower all the way to the finishing touches, because every single step builds on the one before it and makes a pretty big difference. So let's start where great volume actually begins, and that's your scalp. One of the biggest reasons fine hair falls flat is because the scalp becomes coated with oil, dead skin, and leftover styling products. So even if your hair looks clean, that buildup weighs your roots down, making them much harder to lift when you style your hair. So my solution to that is to get yourself a scalp scrub. About once a week, massage a scrub into your scalp before shampooing. It's gonna help lift away buildup, it's gonna leave your roots feeling lighter, and it will give your hair the best possible foundation for volume. Now that we've created a clean foundation with our scalp scrub, let's make sure that we're actually shampooing our hair the right way. One of the biggest mistakes that I used to see behind the chair was that people thought that they were shampooing their scalp, but they were really just washing the very top layer of their hair, and I could physically see the buildup in the scalp. So here's the rule that I want you to remember. Shampoo is for your scalp, conditioner is for your hair. When you're shampooing, lift your hair up in sections and really get your fingertips into your scalp. Work the shampoo through the crown, behind your ears, the back of the head, the nape of the neck. Those areas collect just as much oil and product buildup as everywhere else. And if they aren't getting properly cleaned, they'll weigh your hair down before you even start styling. You also want to make sure that you're rinsing your shampoo out really, really well. Any leftover shampoo or conditioner residue can leave your roots feeling heavier than they need to be. So while you rinse, you're going to want to do the same thing again. Part your hair and make sure that the water is hitting every single part of your head. It's also really important to choose the right shampoo. If you have fine hair and volume is your goal, look for shampoos that say that. You want to see words like volumizing or thickening. Those are formulated to cleanse the hair without leaving behind heavier conditioning ingredients that can really weigh fine hair down. Now, I want to set your expectations because volumizing shampoos aren't going to magically give you volume, and I think a lot of people think that. If you use a volumizing shampoo and you let your hair air dry, you're not just going to miraculously get volume. That's just not what it's designed to do. What it does do is create the best possible foundation for volume because it leaves your hair feeling lighter instead of coated. I notice a huge difference. On the days when I use a rich hydrating shampoo, my hair always feels softer, but I also struggle to get volume, even if I follow like every other trick that I'm going to show you in this video. Now that we've got our scalp nice and clean, let's make sure we're not undoing all that hard work with our conditioner. Your conditioner should never be going anywhere near your roots. Conditioner is designed to smooth and soften the hair, which is exactly what we want through the mid-lengths and ends, but it's the last thing we want at the scalp if we are trying to create volume. So when you're applying it, use it from your ears down. If your ends are especially dry, you can concentrate a little more product there, but keep it away from your roots. Now, when it's time to rinse it off, tilt your head back instead of forward. That way the conditioner rinses straight down the lengths of your hair instead of washing over your crown where it can leave behind a little bit of residue that's going to weigh your roots down again. It's these really small tweaks, these really small things that can make more of a difference than you would think. If you go to the hairdressers and you're like, wow, why does my hair look so amazing after I get it styled with my stylist? It's because we know and do all of these little things, and the building blocks add up to a big result. All right, let's move into products next. One of the biggest misconceptions that I hear is people thinking that all volumizing products do the same thing, and they absolutely don't. They each have completely different jobs. So a thickening spray like this one from Alterna coats each individual strand of hair so it feels fuller and has more body. So if you've ever wished that your ponytail felt thicker or your hair looked denser, this is the product that's going to help you with that. Now, a root lifter like this one does exactly exactly what the name suggests that it does. It lifts the roots. So think of it like the foundation of a house. It's what gives your hair height right where it starts growing out of your scalp. This one from Living Proof can actually be used from roots to ends, but many root lifting sprays are designed to be used only at the roots, and they will make the rest of your hair look really bad. So make sure to read the back when you buy these products. For today's tutorial, I used both. I applied the thickening spray through my mid-lengths and ends to build fullness, and the root lifter at my roots to create lift. Together, they give me the biggest, longest lasting volume. Now, if you're someone who loves using a mousse, don't worry, you absolutely can. A good volumizing mousse creates a beautiful body and hold throughout the hair. In fact, I use mousse most of the time. So if that's what you have at home, simply swap out the thickening spray for the mousse. Apply the mousse through your mid-lengths and ends just like you would a thickening spray, and then apply your root lifter at the roots. You'll get the same result. You'll get body through the lengths and you'll get lift at the roots. I find mousses tend to be a little bit grippier than thickening spray, so it doesn't always leave your hair super soft, but it will make it much bigger. With that said though, you may have to wash it more often, so just keep that in mind. I know this can be really confusing, so I actually made a shopping guide for you. So if you want, pause this video right now, take a screenshot of this so that you can refer to it later. If you're finding this video helpful so far, I really hope that you'll consider subscribing. As a little thank you, every time this channel grows by another 100,000 subscribers, I'll be giving one of you a $500 Sephora gift card to help update your beauty collection. My goal here has always been to make beauty feel easier, not more complicated. And the only way that I can keep doing that is if this channel keeps growing. I am so grateful to have this community. So thank you for doing that. All right, now that we've got our products in our hair, let's make sure that all of that hard work actually lasts. Hair has something called memory. So in other words, it remembers the position it's in as it cools down. Most people think that it's the heat from the blow dryer that locks in the volume, but surprise, it actually is not the heat. The heat smooths the hair, but the volume actually gets locked in when the hair cools down, and the cooling is what sets the style. So instead of finishing your blowout and immediately moving on, I want you to clip your roots up while they're still warm. Now, I know that you've probably heard this before, but here's the part that most people don't realize. You don't have to clip your entire head of hair. The illusion of volume doesn't come from the bottom of your hair. It actually comes from the crown and from the temples. Once you get below the occipital bone, which is this bone here that protrudes from the back of your head, once you get below that and you start pinning, you're really just adding extra work and time to your routine without getting any extra volume out of it. So I only clip the sections from the occipital bone up. That's where I want the lift, and that's where it makes the biggest difference. I am using duckbill clips here to demonstrate this, but you can also use Velcro rollers, which in my opinion is easier and a lot better. All right, now that you know why cooling is so important, let me show you one of my favorite ways to use Velcro rollers. So for placement, I usually create a mohawk section and place my rollers from the crown all the way to the front. And then I'll add 1 or 2 rollers on each side if I want a little extra lift around my face. That is really all you need. Something else to keep in mind is that the brand of the roller does not matter. They all do the same thing. Buy it at Dollar Tree if you want. It's all the same. You're just keeping the hair lifted while it's hot. Now, ideally, you'd blow dry each section, roll it up before it has a chance to cool, and then blow dry the next section beside it. But let's just be real for a second. That's really tricky. As you're drying the next section, the roller or the pin that you did is often in the way of the hair that you need to blow dry. It is even hard for me, and I am very good at styling hair. So here's another pro tip for you that I think you're gonna find very helpful. Finish your entire blowout first, then put your rollers in afterwards. Once they're in place, take your blow dryer with a diffuser attachment and gently heat each roller using high heat and low airflow. You're basically recreating that warm setting phase. Now, if you don't have a diffuser, it's totally fine. You can also do this with a concentrator attachment. Just make sure that the speed is low so that you don't blow your hair all over the place. High heat, low speed, that is the formula. Then, and this is the important part, leave the rollers in until the hair has cooled down completely. Remember, the roller isn't creating the volume, the cooling is. If the hair is even a little bit warm, it's still setting, so it will drop volume immediately. When you remove the rollers, resist the urge to brush through your hair right away. Let the hair fall naturally for a few minutes and then gently shape it into place with your fingers or a brush. If you take a few minutes to do this, you really will be amazed at how much longer your volume lasts. All right, now that our style is finished, let's talk about one of the most misunderstood and also underrated products out there, and that is texture powder. If you've never used this before, texture powder is a lightweight powder that creates grip between the strands of your hair. So think of it like giving your hair these little tiny support beams so it can actually hold itself up better. Now, it sounds amazing, right? I know all of you fine hair girls are like Googling texture powder and going to buy it right now, but I have to warn you about it. This is one of those products that you either absolutely love or absolutely hate. And the reason for that is because it leaves the hair feeling very gritty. And that's actually exactly how it's supposed to feel, because it's that grit in here that creates all of that volume and that support. Do you see that? I can just put my hands into it and lift it and it stays. And that's because of the gritty nature of it. It's not too soft. Personally, I think it has a place in my routine. If I'm doing a blowout for a wedding or a party or another special event and I want as much volume as possible, I love using it. But if I'm doing a blowout that I want to last for 3 or 4 days, I'll usually skip it. The grit can make me feel like I want to wash my hair much sooner, which means I don't get as many days out of my style. So don't feel like this is a product that you have to use every single time. Just think of it as like a special occasion product that you reach for when you really want maximum volume. Now, everything we've talked about today has been what you can do at home to create more volume, but what if you're doing all of these things and your hair still falls flat? Sometimes the problem isn't your styling techniques or even your product, it's just your haircut. One of the biggest myths about fine hair is that adding more layers automatically creates more volume, when in reality, that's often the exact opposite of what happens. Every time you cut a layer, you're removing some weight from the bottom of the haircut. Add too many layers, or worse, over texturize the ends, and suddenly the perimeter starts looking very wispy instead of full. When it comes to fine hair, I almost always prefer to keep a nice, strong baseline and add strategic layers for movement. That way, you get lift and shape without sacrificing the density that makes fine hair look thicker. Think of it this way. The fullness at the bottom of your haircut creates the illusion of thicker hair. Once that disappears, there's no amount of styling products that can completely bring it back. So if you've been trying every volumizing product on the market and you still aren't happy with your hair, it might be worth talking to your hairstylist about your haircut, not just your styling routine. Because sometimes the biggest change doesn't happen in front of your bathroom mirror, it actually happens in the salon chair. Now, once you've finally achieved all that beautiful volume, the next challenge is keeping it. And there's this one little trick that sounds completely backwards, but it works. Instead of waiting until your hair gets oily to use dry shampoo, I want you to apply it before you go to bed, and here's why. Your scalp produces oil while you sleep. So instead of waiting until your roots have already collapsed, the dry shampoo is already there, absorbing that oil as it is produced. You'll wake up with fresher roots, more lift, and you don't have to spend your morning trying to rescue flat hair. I know it sounds really unintuitive, but give it a try. I think you'll be surprised how much longer your volume lasts. Up next on the channel, watch a step-by-step tutorial on how to use a blow-up brush, or if you prefer styling your hair with a round brush and blow dryer, you can find that tutorial right here. I'll see you over there.